Today I wanted to talk about the Scarlet and Violet era and see how these sets are performing. Recently, I've been just talking about the Sword and Shield era and not Scarlet and Violet. And the reason for that is because we are still in the Scarlet and Violet era. With these sets that have just been released, there's just really not much to talk about because they're new, there's a lot of supply on the market, and there just really isn't much to talk about. They need time to get older for supply to dry up. Obviously, there's some, outliers there, like Twilight Masquerade, that have performed very well in the short term. But other than that, like Stellar Crown, there just isn't anything to talk about because it just got released, and there's just a moderate amount of demand for Stellar Crown, and the prices really haven't been moving. But today, overall, I wanted to take a look at the Scarlet and Violet era because I haven't really done that for a while now. And when I, pulled up all these TCG player graphs, I was very surprised to see how well some of these Scarlet and Violet sets have been performing in the short term. So I wanted to go over every set and just show you guys how these sets have been performing within the last month. And then at the end, I want to talk about how I think this kind of, what this means for the future of Pokemon here. So first we have Scarlet and Violet base. So I was very surprised to see this price for Scarlet and Violet base. So if you don't know, about a year ago, there was a huge reprint for Scarlet and Violet base booster boxes. These tanked in price. I remember on Black Friday last year, you could get them for around $80, and they were sitting at around $90 for a while. You can see here, after the reprint, it was around this time. It tanked all the way to like the 80s, and you can see here, this is around when Black Friday happened, and they really tanked. And then obviously it's been kind of just not doing anything because it's just the base set. Nothing in here is really particularly expensive. But just recently, within the last month, it's gone up from $90 to around $99. So that's like a 10% gain. And obviously that's only $9, but percentage-wise, 10% is pretty good. And for a base set, and you gotta imagine this is a base set. This is not a very popular set. So to see this sort of growth, even though yes, it's only $8, $9, whatever, for a base set within the last month is pretty crazy to see, especially with Scarlet and Violet base. So very surprised to see this, and yeah, I think it was just a matter of time, honestly, before it started going up in price. But I'm surprised that it's gone up this quickly. So yeah, really surprised to see this, and yeah, I was surprised. Next, we have Paldea Evolved. So Paldea Evolved, as we can see here, we all know like the reprint or whatever, all the talk about it a few weeks ago, and you can see that happened here where it actually dipped in price because I think a lot of people were just gonna sell to make like $5 or $10 off their booster box before this huge reprint was gonna come, but it didn't happen because it wasn't a reprint really. A lot of people are saying it's a restock. So a lot of people that sold their boxes, hopefully you guys didn't sell yours because it wouldn't even really have been worth it in my opinion, to be honest. I don't have any myself, but just it being $140 is really not worth selling because you're barely gonna make any money. So I don't know why people were so scared. Like, unless this box was like $200 or something, then maybe I would understand. But a box that's like $140 if you bought at $100, after all fees and shipping and everything, you're making like $5 maybe. Like I have Twilight Masquerade boxes, they're at like $150 right now. I'm not tempted to sell them whatsoever because it's just not worth it. So yeah, people just got scared, they sold, and when people quickly realized that this really wasn't a reprint at all, it was very small, people, obviously the price rebounded back, and I think people who sold out probably are regretting it now because the prices have done absolutely nothing other than just this little scare here, and they're just back to what they were before. So Paldea Evolved was pretty much the most expensive box from the Scarlet and Violet era, but now Twilight Masquerade has surpassed Paldea Evolved. In my opinion, I feel like Paldea Evolved, it's going to obviously keep going up in price, but I feel like it's not going to like shoot up in price like Twilight Masquerade might. That's just my opinion, and that's honestly just because Twilight Masquerade just has the top chase card in the Scarlet and Violet era. It has the Greninja, which is almost a $300 card. So in my opinion, Paldea Evolved, it has, seen growth still within the past like few months here, but I just think that it's not going to skyrocket anytime soon. It doesn't really need to, but yeah, it's back just to what it was before. Next, we have Obsidian Flames. Now, Obsidian Flames, it is around $120 right now, and this is kind of surprising to see, but at the same time, not really. So with, any set that comes out, if it has a Charizard in it or any, card like that, a lot of people are going to say, there's a Charizard premium. Everyone, it doesn't matter if it's a bad set. If it has a Charizard in it, it's probably going to perform decently. And we can kind of see that with Obsidian Flames. So this booster box is $120. Now, the reason why it's kind of surprising that this booster box is this expensive is because Obsidian Flames doesn't have any expensive cards. The most expensive card I think is like $30-$40, which is the Charizard card. In the set, there's really like 3 chase cards and they're all like Charizards. So it's kind of surprising to see that this box is this expensive, but I do truly believe that this box is not going to go any much higher, at least soon here, because there's really isn't any expensive cards that I think people are going to keep wanting to open these boxes for, especially when it gets around this price at $120. I don't think many people are going to buy booster boxes to open them up for a $30 card. That's just my opinion. So I feel like at this price, it's going to kind of stay here for a little bit. You can see it did peak a little bit higher at one point to around the 120s, and it has gone down. So that's just my opinion. I really don't think this is going to skyrocket anytime soon just because it doesn't have that chase card. I think Obsidian Flames is pretty comparable to Darkness Ablaze in the fact that there really isn't any expensive cards. Obviously, Obsidian Flames is a better set, but that's kind of how I compare it. So I just don't see this going super high anytime soon. But that's, just what I think about Obsidian. But still, it's pretty, nice to see that even a set that doesn't have any expensive cards is performing well. So that's good to see here. Next is 151 Elite Trainer boxes. Now, obviously there's no booster box, so I'm showing you guys the Elite Trainer box. This, I'm not surprised that this has been performing very well. I'm not surprised at all. But to see this, Elite Trainer box at $87, and I checked eBay, it is actually, this market price I think is actually a little bit low because I went on eBay. These are selling $95 to $100 a lot, like every single day. And when you go on TCG Player, you can see there's not any really big sellers even selling these, but they're all around the $90 range. And yeah, it is, like I said, not surprising, but surprising to see it be this expensive for a normal Elite Trainer box. So not too long ago, I showed you guys a listing for a Elite Trainer box of 151 for like $65. I was thinking about picking them up because at the time it was like $10 under market. I didn't have to pay tax, and I was thinking short term, just keeping it maybe, during the end of the year, maybe I'd sell some off. But I still thought maybe, at this price, it's just kind of still expensive, and I didn't really want to buy into it. But now I kind of wish I would have bought some, because if I were to buy them at $65 and no tax, and now it's at, $90, $95, honestly, that could be a short-term flip that I could have done, because I seriously think at some point, these Elite Trainer boxes are going to get reprinted. This has basically happened with almost every specialty set I can think of, like reprints happening. Like it happened to Celebrations, it happened to basically any specialty set that I can think of. I'm pretty sure Hidden Fates had a big one. Like all these specialty sets they get reprinted with Elite Trainer boxes, so that's why I didn't really want to buy in. But now, just in the short term, they've just grown so much within the past month. I wish I would have bought a couple at least, or a few, but I didn't. So now they're like at $90 to $100, which is insane. But yeah. Next, Paradox Rift. Now, Paradox Rift is kind of a weird one. This is a set a lot of people say is underrated, but this set is almost a year old now, and if it is underrated, I guess this would be a good pickup because it's been this price forever. But I just feel like Paradox Rift isn't really talked about a lot because there's just a lot of other sets that I think are just better. And I like to kind of compare this because, I mean, it's just one set, I guess, newer, is Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift at one point were pretty much the same price, at around $100. And I just feel like Temporal Forces is a stronger set than Paradox. That's just my opinion, because one, it has more expensive cards, and I just feel like the artwork is nicer in Temporal. Well, Paradox Rift, it is, I guess, I feel like it is kind of underrated because this set's almost a year old and it's still at $100. Like, it's kind of crazy that this set, or this box, is $100, yet Obsidian Flames is $120. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but Paradox Rift is not doing anything, and you can see here, it's literally, like, yeah, it went up a little bit from its, like, low, but other than that, it's not, it's just at $100, and it's almost a year old, so kind of weird to see this. Maybe we'll see some moves here soon, because a lot of these boxes and these sets have been performing very well, but Paradox Rift is just kind of not talked about. I feel like this is kind of a sleeper set, so yeah, Paradox Rift, not really much to talk about. Next is Paldean Fates. Now, Paldean Fates is kind of an interesting one because I am not a fan of Paldean Fates, I'm not going to lie. There are a couple chase cards in Paldean Fates, but overall, I just don't think this is the best set ever. I think it's better than, like, Shiny Fates in the past, but still not the best thing ever. But it has a couple of chase cards, which I think is why this Elite Trainer box has been performing decently in the short term. I remember not too long ago you could get these in like the high 30s, but now they're selling for around $45. So to see this with Paldean Fates, I think is also pretty surprising, because I don't think the set is super popular, but I think those chase cards really are helping it grow, because it is at around $45 right now. So kind of surprised to see that perform this well. And then next here, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, is Temporal Forces. This is what I kind of wanted to talk about here today. So Temporal Forces, like I said, it was kind of like Paradox Rift, where they were both around $100, but Temporal Forces, in my opinion, was just always a little bit better, and it's performed very strongly within just the past couple weeks, which I think causes some concern, because to see a booster box shoot up this much in price in just 2 weeks is kind of abnormal. Because you can see here, it was sitting around the hundreds since pretty much release. It's been like this forever. But then, just all of a sudden, it just, in the past few weeks, it's gone up like $10. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's just in 2 weeks. And it's been doing nothing for a while. And I even checked eBay just to make sure this wasn't price manipulation. And this is the real market price. They're selling from $115 to $120. So it is kind of strange to see Temporal Forces perform this well in just a couple of weeks. So if you were looking to pick any Temporal Forces booster boxes right now, and you were going to have to pay market price, I'd be kind of skeptical, to be honest. Obviously, it's only $10 more, but it is kind of weird to see it, go up in price this quickly. Yeah, it's very strange to me. And you can see here, even with TCG Player, like, they're all around 120. So very surprised to see this. I do have some boxes of Temporal myself, so I'm happy I at least have some before this happened. Obviously, it's not that much, but still, it's gone up a lot recently, so kind of surprised to see Temporal, do that. And then next here, Twilight Masquerade. Really not much to talk about. It's kind of like Paldea Evolved, except it's obviously been performing, better in the short term, and you can see it has surpassed Paldea now. So you can see, I mean, it's been going up, obviously. I think Twilight can still have that chance of really skyrocketing at some point. But Twilight obviously just very good. Really not much to talk about. It's like $150 now, and I don't really see it stopping anytime soon unless they reprint it. But I think this is definitely not going to get reprinted, at least in the next few months. Obviously, there's other sets they probably would reprint first, because Twilight Masquerade really isn't that old. So I wouldn't be surprised, and this is just obviously all speculation, but before it gets reprinted, I wouldn't be surprised if this booster box hits like 180. I wouldn't be that surprised. Still, even then, if it hits 180, I'm not going to sell out. There's really no point. So yeah, Twilight Masquerade performing very well, not surprisingly. Then we have Shrouded Fable. So Shrouded Fable is one of the sets, very few sets in Scarlet Violet have been performing poorly, but Shrouded Fable is one of them. The Elite Trainer box is only $33, and some people were hyping up Shrouded Fable when it came out. I never liked it. I just thought the whole theme around these cards was just not very good. I didn't like the artwork in the set at all. They're just kind of plain and kind of weird in my opinion. And you can see the performance of this set has been terrible. It's at $33 Elite Trainer box, and just hasn't been doing anything. So hopefully you guys don't have any Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer boxes, because they're kind of bricks. I feel like they're going to be bricks for a while. That's just my opinion. I just don't think there's a lot of demand for the set. Just the theme around it is not very I just don't think it's popular. So Shrouded Fable, don't really like it, and it's not really performing well at all. So you can see hasn't done anything. And then lastly, not really much to talk about here, Stellar Crown. Some people were talking about how Stellar Crown was like 110 and performing really strongly, but Stellar Crown, I think the hype phase kind of since it's been released has pretty much died down all the way. I think people are just getting ready for Surging Sparks and not really spending money on Stellar, because Stellar Crown, it has the Terapagos, but it's like an alright set. Like, it's going to perform decently, obviously, in the future, but in the short term, I don't see this box shooting up in price at all. I think the Terapagos is just it's a nice looking card, but it just doesn't have that chase. I feel like with the Greninja or the Magikarp from Paldea, I don't really think it has that. So wouldn't be surprised if Stellar Crown kind of stays around 100, 105 for a while. And you can see here, it just really hasn't done much because, I mean, it's new. I think the hype has kind of worn off, and there just really isn't anything happening with Stellar. So that's all I wanted to talk about today with, Scarlet and Violet. And now I wanted to kind of tell you guys my opinions on, the performance of, Scarlet and Violet, and what kind of this means for the future here with Pokemon. So, Scarlet and Violet, in the beginning, no one thought that Scarlet and Violet would probably be here where it is today with all these sets, a lot of them performing very strongly. And I think with just the short-term performance of a lot of these sets, I think it really goes to show the strength we are in right now in the Pokemon market. I think, Scarlet and Violet obviously is going to perform still strongly with next year, but I also think this means that, older sets or older eras like Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, I wouldn't be surprised, with the strength of Pokemon right now, if those continue to really go up next year. I really wouldn't be surprised, and I feel like it's probably going to happen. So it is going to be interesting to see how Pokemon performs here towards closer to the end of the year and also next year. Will be very exciting to see because I really think that we are in a very strong market right now, in a bull market, and I'm very happy to see that because just a couple years ago, when Scarlet and Violet first came out, there was just so much negativity around Pokemon, and just we were in a down market for a while. Obviously, Sword and Shield was still performing decently for some of the sets, but now pretty much everything is performing strongly. There were just a couple of examples I showed you today where sets really weren't performing, like Paradox Rift, Shroud of Fable. But other than that, everything has been performing. So I think this is very good for Pokemon's future, at least the near future. And yeah, that's all I want to talk about today. Show you guys Scarlet and Violet and how these sets are performing. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.